If this happens, and I say this without blinking, Toronto's entire October destiny could shift before summer has even learned how to sweat. Not in September, not at the deadline chaos people romanticize, but quietly, deliberately, with a phone call that hums like fate itself. This is not one of those hollow trade whispers that float through spring like cheap perfume. This feels heavier. This feels intentional. And the moment you hear the words Bullpen and Toronto in the same breath, your shoulders tense automatically, because memory has a long reach in this city and it does not forgive easily. Welcome back to the Blue Jays Report, where we don't just follow the story, we sit inside it and listen to it breathe. The idea on the table is simple on the surface and dangerous underneath. The St. Louis Cardinals may be willing to move the most reliable arm in their bullpen, and the projected landing spot isn't random, desperate, or poetic. It's the Toronto Blue Jays. That alone is enough to make fans sit up straighter, because Toronto doesn't react to bullpen news with curiosity anymore. It reacts with trauma. Last October didn't just sting, it branded. The ninth inning stopped feeling like a door and started feeling like a trap. The name at the center of this conversation is JoJo Romero. 28 years old. Left-handed. A 2.07 ERA across 61 innings last season. Numbers that don't whisper, they stare you down. And then there's the detail that turns this from interesting to combustible. His contract is expiring. 1 year. 1 season before free agency. In baseball economics, that's not just a timeline, it's a ticking clock with a very loud second hand. St. Louis didn't stumble into this position. They engineered it. Over the offseason, the Cardinals stripped away familiarity like wallpaper in a house marked for renovation. Veterans gone. Salaries cleared. Comfort removed. What's left is youth, flexibility, and a plan that doesn't bother disguising itself as nostalgia. When a franchise makes that kind of move, the rest of the league doesn't speculate, it prepares. Because everyone knows what comes next. Assets become currency. And Romero, in this context, is a gold bar sitting in plain sight. The projection didn't come from a message board or a late-night radio caller. It came from Kerry Miller of Bleacher Report, who framed it less like a prediction and more like a logical endpoint. Any Cardinals player with limited control is effectively available, and Romero, poised to be the primary saves option in his walk year, sits at the top of that list. That's not provocation. That's market reading. Now pause and be honest. Do you really believe a team in transition lets a reliever like this walk away for nothing? Of course they don't. St. Louis holds the leverage here, and they know it. The trade deadline reliever market is not polite. It's frantic. Contenders panic. They always have. They always will. We watched the Miami Marlins extract a hefty return for Tanner Scott, and nobody called it foolish, because bullpens don't win headlines, they win short series. That precedent still echoes. Picture July arriving. Romero healthy. Era still under 3. Saves stacking like receipts. Suddenly the phone in St. Louis isn't ringing once, it's vibrating off the table. 5 teams. 6. Maybe more. And Toronto is absolutely one of them, because here's the truth that hurts a little. This isn't about fit. It's about necessity. The Blue Jays bullpen didn't just fail last postseason, it cracked under microscope. That kind of moment doesn't fade with motivational quotes or spring optimism. It lodges itself in the collective muscle memory of a fan base. Right now, left-handed depth in Toronto's bullpen isn't a luxury, it's a gap. And there's been quiet acknowledgement that reinforcement at the back end, possibly even alongside names like Jeff Hoffman, may be unavoidable. Romero isn't a situational arm. He's not a specialist hiding from leverage. Those numbers came under pressure, over a full season, and that matters. But here's where the conversation sharpens. An expiring contract doesn't mean a discounted price. It means urgency on both sides. St. Louis won't accept filler. They dismantled their veteran core because they want upside, not placeholders. If Toronto enters this discussion, they're talking about real prospects. Names that make you hesitate. And that's the question that splits fan bases down the middle. Are you willing to part with tomorrow to stabilize October? Because there will be competition. This isn't a quiet negotiation. It's a bidding war conducted under fluorescent lights. The Cardinals can afford patience. They can wait for desperation to ripen. They can let contenders expose their bullpen flaws on national broadcasts and then raise the price. That's how sellers win. And Toronto knows this, which introduces another layer of tension. Do you move early and risk volatility, or wait and risk inflation? Relievers are volatile by nature. A 2.07 ERA is elite, but it lives on a knife edge. One mechanical tweak, one tired month, one awkward landing. The narrative can shift fast. Acting early requires conviction. Waiting requires nerve. And this is where front offices reveal who they are. Conservative teams wait for certainty. Bold teams act on belief. Strip away the spreadsheets for a moment and this becomes emotional. Toronto wants to stop reliving the same October story with different characters. You can build a lineup that sings. You can win 95 games. None of it matters if the final outs feel borrowed. A lockdown bullpen arm isn't just strategy, it's psychology. Romero, at 28, carries himself like someone who doesn't flinch when the noise rises. From St. Louis' perspective, the logic is brutal and clean. A reliever in his final year is most valuable before the ink dries on free agency papers. Every save becomes an advertisement. Every clean inning sharpens the return. Yes, a closer provides temporary stability for a young clubhouse, but rebuilds don't prioritize comfort. They prioritize assets. Emotion doesn't survive accounting. If Toronto goes down this road, there is no half measure. This is an all-in posture. It's a declaration that last October taught lessons, not scars. The Tanner Scott trade reset expectations. Romero may not command the exact same haul, but the baseline is higher than fans want to admit. Left-handed. Prime age. Proven leverage. Final year. That's a perfect storm. Now imagine the summer heat settling in. A tight divisional race. Sports radio replaying bullpen collapses from memory. Analysts asking the same question with different phrasing. You think that pressure doesn't seep into the front office? It does. And pressure accelerates decisions. There is risk here, and it deserves respect. Relievers can betray you without warning. You can pay dearly and still watch the ninth inning wobble. But fans don't calculate regression in October. They crave certainty. They want the door closed, not negotiated. If Romero arrives, the impact ripples outward. Roles clarify. Stress redistributes. Arms breathe easier. That's how bullpens transform, not through one hero, but through balance restored. It changes the geometry of a game. So now the question belongs to you. Would you strike early and secure the arm, or wait for July and enter the storm? Because that choice defines intent. It tells the clubhouse who you are. It tells the league what you learned. This potential trade isn't just about a pitcher. It's about two franchises moving in opposite directions and meeting briefly at the crossroads of need and opportunity. If Romero finishes a season in Toronto, it won't feel shocking. It will feel inevitable in hindsight. But inevitable never means inexpensive. If you believe the Blue Jays should push the chips in, say it. If you think the cost is too steep for a reliever in his final year, say that too. July is closer than it looks, and when the phone rings in St. Louis, it just might be Toronto on the other end. If you're enjoying this kind of deep, honest analysis, take a moment to like the video, share it with another fan who still flinches in the ninth, and subscribe to the Blue Jays Report, because these conversations don't stop when the lights go out.